Hello everyone. Tonight, I am telling you a story about wealth, manners, and the kind of betrayal that wears a perfect suit. It begins in a Hamptons ballroom, where one woman was smiling for the cameras 1 second and being destroyed the next. Vivian Cole stood beside a floral wall and felt the room turn on its axis. Her husband had not come to her side. Her lawyer had. And that was worse. "Mrs. Cole, please do not make this harder than it already is," Elliot Raines said. The room went quiet. He claimed her trust documents were fake and told her to hand over her keycard. The word dignity landed like a slap. Phones lifted. Nobody defended her. Elliot smiled as if he were doing her a favor. Vivian looked at the folder in his hand and understood. They had planned this. Vivian had learned long ago that the rich never yelled first. They arranged things. They smiled. They let other people do the ugly work. That was why Elliot Raines frightened her more than a shouting man ever could. He had been the Cole family lawyer for 11 years. He knew the trusts, the properties, the private club accounts, and every secret door in the family image. In the dressing room, he told her to leave quietly and accept the story of her own instability. Vivian asked where her husband was. Elliot said he was busy preserving the family name. She saw her initials on the folder. She saw the copied signatures. Then her phone flashed with a message from an unknown number. "I have something," he said when he forgot he was being recorded. It disappeared before she could open it. When Vivian entered the dining room, she knew immediately that everyone there had agreed to something. Her mother-in-law sat rigidly. Gavin would not meet her eyes. Elliot stood by the sideboard like a man delivering mercy. Vivian asked what they were handling. Her mother-in-law said her embarrassment before it became a scandal. Elliot began reading from the folder, listing transfers and signatures as if he were reading scripture. Then he mentioned side letters and draft audits no outsider should have known about. Gavin flinched. Not surprise. Recognition. Vivian saw it and understood that he was in this with them. She rose slowly, let her fingers brush the silver charger, and listened to the room. The pauses mattered. The glances mattered. Elliot had spoken of being recorded. Somewhere, there was a recording. And she intended to find it. Elliot did not stop at the family table. He brought the story into the gallery corridor, where donors and old friends could watch in public. He called her emotionally fragile. He said the family was protecting her from further damage. A few people nodded, and that was worse than shouting. They were willing to believe any elegant lie that kept the room comfortable. Vivian felt the heat in her face, but she did not cry. She understood the game now. They were making her look unstable, so anything she said would sound like a breakdown. Then a woman whispered, "I knew something was off." The whisper spread. Vivian saw Elliot smile. He expected her to crack. Instead, she watched his briefcase, his hands, and the way he kept checking the clasp. That detail stayed with her. Vivian waited until Elliot stepped out and left his briefcase on a chair. She did not rush. She opened it carefully and found ledgers, draft amendments, and a small black voice recorder taped inside the lining. Her breath caught. This was not an accident. It was a habit. She pressed play. Elliot's voice came through first. Then Gavin's. They talked about calling her incapable, about a medical note, about moving family assets into a private holding company before an audit. Then Elliot said the wife would be made to look erratic, because once the narrative stuck, nobody would believe her. Vivian went still. The room was silent except for her breathing. She copied the files to her phone, returned everything exactly as she found it, and understood something important. The lie had a voice now. And she had it. Vivian stepped back into the light with her phone in her hand. Elliot was still speaking when she cut him off. She told everyone she thought they should hear what he said in the coat room. Then she played the recording. Elliot's voice filled the terrace. "She will be made to look erratic. Once the narrative sticks, no one will believe her enough to sue." Gasps broke out. A glass tipped over. Faces changed. The room had believed the lie because it was comfortable. Now it heard the man behind it. Gavin lunged for the phone, but a trustee stopped him. Elliot tried to talk over the recording, then fell silent when his own words played back again. Vivian said, softly, that he had not only betrayed her. He had documented it. And that was the reversal. Proof, in public, under the same lights that had humiliated her. By dawn, the story had moved faster than the tide. The trustees had heard the recording. The family lawyer had reviewed the files. In the library, Elliot waited pale and furious while a trustee told him his suspension was immediate. Elliot called it a misunderstanding. Vivian said it was a recording. Then she placed the evidence on the table in neat stacks: bank paths, meeting notes, and the draft medical note they planned to use against her. Gavin looked broken. Vivian answered every question calmly. She did not beg. She did not rush. When the trustee finally addressed her with respect, she felt the ache of what it had cost. Her marriage was gone. Her trust was gone. But the narrative was hers again. By the time Vivian left the estate, reporters were already gathering at the gate. Someone had leaked the recording. The truth was no longer theirs to bury. She stood by the car and looked back at the house. It was beautiful in the morning light, which made the rot inside it feel even uglier. Then her phone buzzed. The message from the night before was still there, and this time the sender name showed: the family accountant. Vivian stared at it and understood that there was more waiting behind the first lie. She still had her victory. But the ache remained. She got into the car anyway. The door shut with a clean, final sound. She did not feel rescued. She felt awake. And that was enough. And that is how a woman they called fragile became the most dangerous person in the room. Thank you for listening. And if you want the next story, stay close. The rich always leave more behind than they realize.